Okay, so the camera cut off and we were just talking about how bone remodels itself based on the demands that you put on it and whatnot. Proteins, muscles operate the same way. So areolar connective tissue made up of collagen and elastin fibers. Next type of tissue is dense regular connective tissue. Okay, dense regular connective tissue. If you notice, these nuclei are elongated. So there must be a tremendous amount of stretch on this tissue. And if you're following along on page 18, we went to number 3. We skipped adipose tissue. We're not necessarily doing these in order. So areolar loose connective tissue was number 1. We just got done with that slide. Dense regular connective tissue found in tendons. Okay, bones are not attached to muscle. Muscles are not attached to bones. You go muscle, tendon, tendon attached to bone. Muscle would rip. This is a specialized tissue that can withstand a lot of stretching stress. Let's zoom in on. And so you can see that the nuclei are very elongated and that all the strands of the tendons are perfectly parallel with each other. Okay? So this is what we call dense regular connective tissue. All right, next tissue, adipose. Adipose is another name for fat. So this is a type of connective tissue that is found all and around your body. But according to the book, they're going to use the word epiglottis. Epiglottis is that little punching bag that you see down in your throat. Adipose tissue. This looks very similar to simple squamous epithelium lining the alveoli in your lungs. The only difference is this has single nuclei in the cell. The only thing is when you look at the nucleus right here, we don't know if it belongs to that cell, does it belong to that cell, does it belong to that cell. But if you remember, if you go back and you look at simple squamous epithelium, the squamous cells are all around and there's many, many, many nuclei. Okay? So this is adipose. Next slide. Bone. Let's see if I get a closer up shot. Yep, there we go. So this is a slice of bone. One of the things that makes it easy to recognize, other than the fact that it's brown, that kind of helps. But when you get close up, and I'll show you what we were getting close up to, we're zooming in on this guy right here. It looks like when you cut a tree and you see the annular rings, okay? That's kind of what this reminds you of. All right, so here's the central canal, all right? And this whole circular thing is you're going to learn about osteons, okay? Osteon is the structural component of bone. They're like pillars that give the bone strength, okay? Osteocytes are indicated right here. Osteocytes is the cell, osteo meaning bone, cytes meaning cells. These are bone cells, and they are found in little cavities called lacunae, all right? But that right there is bone tissue. All right, hyaline cartilage, and then we're back to the trachea. Remember, for epithelium, we were over here in the lumen, and the first tissue of the lumen in the apical position here in regards to connective tissue. We were up there with the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, and we said this part, this is connective tissue and it's squishy, but this is hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is very, very dense. It's perhaps one of the strongest cartilages. And close up, these are chondrocytes. Remember, the word cyte means cell. Chondro refers to cartilage. They are also contained in little cavities called lacunae. It's kind of like taking kale syrup, dyeing it kind of purple, and then dropping corn seeds. That's what I've always thought that this looked like, a bunch of corn seeds. But when you see this picture, hyaline cartilage. Next type of cartilage is fibrocartilage. We're skipping over elastic. We'll be hitting it here in a second. Again, sorry for not doing it in order, but my slides were in the proper order with the previous lab books, and every time they change lab books, I don't know why, but sometimes they change the order of stuff. All right, so fibrocartilage. Fibrocartilage is found in the intervertebral discs. If I take a skeleton right here, and I'm bringing him over, he's not cooperating. Okay. Let me see if he's in my field of view. I'll move it over to him. Okay. I'll zoom in. There we go. All right, pretty easy. So here we have individual vertebrae, lumbar vertebra, and in between the vertebra, you see this little plastic, this different color here, darker color. That is the intervertebral disc. Okay, inter meaning between, two vertebral discs that make up the vertebra. This is like a little cushion. All right. So as you pop up and down and you're running and you're doing all kinds of stuff, fibrocartilage acts as a cushion. All right. It resists what we call compressive stress. Okay, let me back up here. There we go. And so you see a lot of space in here. Okay. It's not airspace, that's fluid-filled spaces, but makes it really kind of compressive. Well, getting a call. Let me see. Since I don't know how to pause this, I couldn't take the call. Oh well, life goes on. Here is fibrocartilage in high power. Again, multiple spaces. The uracine is kind of purplish bluish with some giant red spots that took up the stain really well. Not quite sure what that would be. Some sort of granules of some kind. And fibrocartilage from a cross section as opposed to a longitudinal section. And here is our elastic cartilage. At this view right here, notice that lot of luminous space, all the threads real closely. So all this cartilage, because it has all this fluid-filled spaces here, allows this to bend. These elastin fibers right here, really good for bending. If you look in your book says that elastin cartilage, elastic cartilage is found in the ear, the outer part of your ear. That's why you can flip it around and move it pretty much. What has happened to a lot of wrestlers, MMA fighters, their ears are rubbed in between headlocks and stuff like that. These fibers get stretched, they get irritated, they get inflamed, these vessels break, and that's how you get that cauliflower ear that is found on wrestlers. That's why in high school and college they have to wear ear protection. All right. So I believe that is the last slide. Let me double check. Yep. Okay. So what I suggest that you do is simply go through your PowerPoint and take a look at all of the different types of tissue. Remember, all you're trying to do is visualize the tissue in terms of identifying the tissue first, and then in your mind saying, hey, that's found in the lung, that's found in the kidney, that's found in the jejunum, that is in the trachea. Okay? So you can go back from the very beginning, look at the main pictures. Simple squamous epithelium found in alveoli of the lungs. Okay? Simple cuboidal found in kidneys. Columnar epithelium, which are the longitudinal, they act as the glove, and the connective tissue is the finger in the glove. And then in between the columnar epithelium, you have goblet cells. Then we go to pseudociliate columnar epithelium. What gives this tissue away is the cilia at the most apical surface of this epithelium near the lumen. All right. And stratified squamous epithelium, where you have keratinized dead cells at the most apical layer. You have more cuboidal basal cells that are mitotically active. Then you have transitional epithelium that can expand and contract. The lumen gets larger, smaller, larger, smaller. And a close-up of transitional epithelium. Areolar connective, dense regular, adipose, bone, hyaline cartilage in the trachea, close-up of the chondrocytes, which make up hyaline cartilage, fibrocartilage in the intervertebral discs, lots of space, cross-section, elastic cartilage made up of fibers called elastin, and that is it. All right. Okay, that ends that particular lab. Our next lab is going to be the skeletal system. Okay, and I'll get that one ASAP. Next one you see.